Okay, take another minute with these statements. Yep. Okay, first one, who can help me with the first conditional statement? Cooper. Good, if stereo, then headphones, right? And when it's P, then Q, what do we call that? Like what statement? Is it conditional, inverse, converse, contrapositive? Conditional. You lose something? Oh. Okay. I get you. Okay, conditional, right? I don't know what's happening. Conditional statement. All right, the next one. Who can help me on the next one? Caleb. Good. If I'm wearing headphones, then the stereo is playing. And what do we call that statement? Converse. Very good. All right, number 3. Jane.
If I'm not wearing headphones, then the stereo is not playing.
If not wearing headphones, that's not how you spell that, then stereo is not playing. Whoa, that's why it slow down. Okay. Good. What do we call that statement? Cooper? Contrapositive, flipped, and negated. Very good. And then the last statement. Somebody who I've not talked to. How do I write the last statement? Abby?
If the stereo isn't playing, then I'm not wearing headphones.
Good. If the stereo is not playing, then I'm not wearing headphones. And what do we call that one? We just say contrapositive. Inverse. Good. Negate is inverse. Very good. That was just a warm-up. We don't ever forget that. That's going to be on your chapter 2 test. And we did really well on that on the last quiz. I graded your quiz the day you took it. Did you guys see it in Power School? I think everyone improved, and I think overall we did pretty well. I will look up the average later. I'm still missing a couple people who have taken it, so I will need to not give those back until everybody's taken it. So I'll see if I can get those rounded up in the next day or 2. But very proud of you guys. That was awesome. We're going to go to the beginning of our notes now. So that was just a little warm up with our brain. And today we're talking about deductive reasoning. So deductive reasoning is a new type of reasoning. We just spent a lot of time learning about inductive reasoning, which is observations and patterns. The definition I have on here says using a number of specific examples to make a generalization or a prediction. Specific examples is the key word here. So I gave you specific examples like, I don't know, we'll see some in a second. I don't remember any that I gave you already, but like this number, then this number, then this number. Those are specific examples of a pattern we can find. Deductive reasoning is new for us today, and it's using facts and rules and definitions and properties. So those are things you like just know. It's like if you add 1 + 1, it's 2, right? That is a fact. A rule is that like you're supposed to wear a lanyard, right? That's not an observation or pattern. That is a rule at the school. So if I said something about lanyards, it would be a rule or deductive reasoning. Okay, so we have 4 examples of inverses versus deductive reasoning. So let's talk about which one is which. The first one says, for the last 2 Fridays, the cafeteria has served pizza. Julian concludes that the cafeteria will serve pizza every Friday. What are we thinking? Give me a thumbs up if inductive, give me a thumbs down if deductive. Good, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 people helping me. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Inductive? Deductive. Kate, why did you put your thumb up?
Because it's an observation, it comes back.
Good. What told you that it was an observation?
Because he said for the last 2 Fridays.
Good. For the last 2 Fridays, he noticed this. So that means it's inductive. Those are specific times that this happened. Last Friday and the Friday before that. Good idea. Good job. Okay, next one says, Jake's utility company charges him a late fee of $7 if his payment is not received by the due date. That's just information for us. If he's late, he has to pay $7. So Jake paid his bill late last month, so he concludes that he will owe a late fee. Do we believe that's inductive or deductive? Nolan, why did you say deductive? That's a rule. That is a rule at the utility company. Anybody who pays late, I don't care who you are, everybody who's late has to pay $7. That is a fact. They told us that. So that means it is deductive reasoning. Very good. Okay. The next one says, no student whose parents drop them off at school owns a car, period. Courtney's dad takes her to school every day. Therefore, Alex can conclude that Courtney doesn't own a car. Inductive, deductive. Inductive, deductive. What do we think? This is a tough one, but I'm going to go with deductive. Eli, why did you say deductive? Good. So what happens is we have prior experience, right? You thought for a second, you're like, oh, well, I know, like, my sister has a car, but, like, one time we had to get dropped off because the car was in the shop, or we had a flat tire, or we are going on vacation and my mom was going to pick us up after school. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have an example in your head probably, right? Those of us who said inductive. This one is deductive because that's what this sentence says. It's a fact that at this school, or at this school they're talking about, no student who gets dropped off has a car. So that is a fact. So it's deductive reasoning. All right, and then the last one, in August and September, Jules receives an email from his bank on the 1st of the month. Thus, he concludes he'll receive an email from his bank on October 1st. Thumbs up is inductive, thumbs down is deductive. What do we think? Good. Chantal, why do you have inductive? That's true. And what words told you that it was inductive? Perfect. Perfect. In August and September, do you see how those are specific times too? Just like the first one, we said the last 2 Fridays. It says this happened in August and September, so he's assuming this is going to happen. That is a pattern. Inductive reasoning. It didn't say the bank always sends emails on October or on the 1st of the month. It says we observed from these things. Okay, so we just practiced doing inductive and deductive versus each other. That was a good way that we identified fact versus observation. Now what we're doing is we're going to talk about 2 types of deductive reasoning. In order to prove a conjecture wrong, you just need one counterexample. It's pretty easy to prove if there's one thing that's wrong. But to prove it correct, you have to use deductive reasoning, which is you have to use a rule or a fact or a property or something along those lines. And what I'm about to teach you are 2 types of deductive reasoning that aren't just like the definition of a right angle. So these are types of deductive reasoning. I don't know why I didn't label them, but I'm labeling them now to help me. And they are called the law of syllogism and the law of detachment. Everything else we do today is law of syllogism and law of detachment. And those are types of deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning. Okay. The law of syllogism says if P then Q and if Q then R are true conditional statements, then if P then R is also true. If P then Q and if Q then R, something new, then I can assume that P, nope, that's the wrong color. Then P then R is also true. You're probably like, those are just alphabet soup, Miss White. I don't know what that means. Okay, let's put some real meaning behind it, but let's relate this to something I believe you already know. This is a lot like the property from algebra called the transitive property. The transitive property says if A equals B and if B equals C, then what do we know? Can you say again? Good. I want us to keep it in the order A equals C, though. In algebra, in equality, it doesn't matter if you put it in different orders, but with conditional sentences, it will matter. So we got to keep it in the same order. So you saw if A equals B and B equals C, then A and C have to equal each other. That's how it works here. If I have those two conditional sentences and I have that same statement in the middle, that Q is the same, then that means I'm just going to cut out Q and go directly from A to R. I don't need that middleman anymore. Okay, so here's my example. It says, if I pack my practice clothes at night, then I won't have to do it before school. If I don't have to do it before school, then I'll have time to eat breakfast. If I pack my practice clothes at night is my P. That's your first part. Hi, you need somebody? Yeah, you can take them. Yeah. Oh, classic. Sneak attack on that one. I don't know what I say. So P then Q. So this one's if I won't have to do it before school, then I have Q. The next part goes, if I don't have to pack my practice clothes before school, oh, that matches my Q. So I'm going to re-highlight that yellow. I have the same thing right there in the middle. And then the last one is, I'll have time to eat breakfast. That's a whole new idea. So it gets to be its own color, which is R. P then Q, Q then R. And some of us are still not with me. I have Q in the middle, so I get to cross that out, and I can go directly from P to R. I don't have to say I won't do it before school twice. I can just go directly to if I pack my practice clothes at night, then I have time to eat breakfast. It's the same thing logically. Let me zoom in a little bit so this is not so trash handwriting. If I pack my practice clothes at night, then I'll have time to eat breakfast. Yep, Caleb. If so we're going to assume that every statement they give us is true. So we're going to assume that there's no falseness in this. Okay. All right. Everybody with me? I was able to take out my Q's and I'm left with P and R. There goes my R and here goes my P. All right, so that is true based on our law of syllogism. I say that syllogism. Okay. Next is law of detachment. This one says if P then Q is a conditional statement and P is true, then Q is true. This time they're going to give me a conditional statement and then one other statement, and I'm going to conclude another statement. It's a lot of words, so let's see an example of this. If a student earns high grades, then he or she will make honor roll. So my beginning goes, if a student earns high grades, a student earning high grades is my P. Oh, I got a little excited there. That's my P. He or she will make honor roll is my Q. Lisa earns high grades. Does that match the P or does that match the Q? P. I'm going to highlight that pink to keep everything straight. You don't have to highlight. I just think that that's the easiest way for me to show you what's going on. Because I know Lisa earns high grades, then I can conclude that she's going to make the honor roll. I'm going to say Lisa will make the honor roll. It only works if I match my P's together. So if I give you an if then and then you match your P, then I'm allowed to conclude Q. We'll do an example in a little bit. Mike, are you with me? Yeah? Okay. I have an answer. Then we can conclude true. So let's talk about that as a pattern. So Kate's trying to figure out a way for her to know what's going on, right? If you look back at law of syllogism, I gave you two if-thans, and then we came up with another if-then. So I had two if-thans, and then I came up with a third if-then. That's kind of a pattern you'll see with law of syllogism. It's syllogism only if you use two if-thans, and then you make an if-then. Detachment is one if-then and P, and then you're allowed to conclude Q. So syllogism is two if-thans and then another. Detachment is one if-then and P, and then we get to conclude Q, which is its own individual statement. Okay, we're about to flip over to the back page. Any other basic questions on that? We're about to like dive deeper in. So the more examples we'll see, the more you'll understand if you have questions, okay? The next part says, write a conclusion using true statements and state which law applies. If no conclusion is possible, write no conclusion. So this one says, if a person gets a concussion, then he or she should see a doctor. Jamie got a concussion. All right, stop. Does this match law of detachment or law of syllogism? Detachment. It's one if then and it's a statement. Okay, now I'm going to label P and Q. My P is a person gets a concussion. My Q is they should see a doctor. Jamie got a concussion. Does that match P or does that match Q? P, good. It matches P, so I'm happy. I'm going to make a conclusion. A little smiley face. My conclusion is Jamie should see a doctor. And I use the law of detachment to find that. Okay. Next one, ready? If you chew gum, then you will get a detention. If you get a detention, then you will have to serve it. Stop. Which one does this look like? Syllogism. It looks like the syllogism one. So let's see if we can conclude something. If you chew gum, that's your P. Q is you will get a detention. Oh, nice. The next one also starts with you'll get a detention. Okay, we're right on track for syllogism. Then I have a whole new idea, which is going to be my R, which is you'll have to serve it. I don't know why I picked black to highlight that, but that's where we're at. Because it's law of syllogism and because my Q's at the end and then at the beginning, I'm going to go right to if you chew gum, then you have to serve a detention. Sometimes you have to add words to make it make sense in our English language. We were able to make a conclusion, so I'm going to write law of syllogism around here somewhere. Doing okay so far? All right, next one says, if Jay doesn't work hard, then he won't start the game and he will quit the team. Jay quit the team. Stop. Which one does this look like? It looks like detachment. Now let's figure out if I can make a conclusion. Okay, Jay doesn't work hard. Okay, that's my P. My Q is then he won't start and he will quit the team. Jay quit the team. Does that match P or does that match Q? Yep, look exactly for the words. We want it to match P, but it doesn't this time. This time it matches Q. I cannot make a conclusion if it matches Q. I'm going to draw a frowny face because I can't conclude anything. He could quit the team for other reasons, right? We don't know what happened. Maybe he got injured and decided he didn't want to play anymore. Maybe he has to work a job and can't play anymore. Maybe he worked really hard and he doesn't like his teammates or his coach, or he doesn't like to work hard anymore. I don't know what happened. He quit for whatever reason. So this one I'm going to write no conclusion. Okay? The next few statements, I gave you 3. We're going to read the first 2 and then decide if we can conclude number 3, okay? So the first one goes, if measure of angle 2 equals 40, then measure of angle 3 equals 140. If measure of angle 3 equals 140, then measure of angle 4 equals 40. Stop. Does this look like syllogism or detachment? Syllogism, right? I gave you 2 if-thens, and we're going to conclude an if-then. If that's true, I've got my P, I've got my Q. Nice. My next statement also starts with Q. And then I've got a whole new idea, which is going to be R. I then wrote, if measure of angle 2 equals 40, then measure of angle 4 equals 40. That's P then Q, or sorry, P then R, my fault. That's P then R, and that's true. So that we say we found using law of syllogism. So you could write something like, yes, that works, or you can just write law of syllogism. Okay. Next one. If an angle is acute, then it is not obtuse. ABC is acute. Okay, stop. What does this one look like? Detachment. One if-then and then a statement. That looks like detachment. Everybody with me? Okay, everyone who wants to be with me. If an angle is acute, that's my P. My Q then is the next part. Then it is not obtuse. Number 2 says angle ABC is acute. Does that match P or does that match Q? P. Is that good or bad? It's good because I can make a conclusion, right? I'm going to conclude that it is not obtuse. So that's fine. Whoa, I don't know what happened. That's good. And so I'm going to say that happened by law of detachment. I'm going to draw a smiley face because I'm happy. All right, again. Right angles are congruent. Angle A is congruent to angle B. Stop. The first one's not even a conditional statement. Can we make that a conditional statement? Yeah, what could I say? Good. Something about if them being right, then they're congruent. If they are right angles, then they are congruent. Right is the P. The congruent part is the Q. The second statement says angle A is congruent to angle B. Does this match P or does this match Q? Q. Is that good or bad? That's bad. We cannot conclude that they are right angles. Because if I just know that they're congruent, they could be anything. 30-degree angles are congruent, right? 145-degree angles are congruent. So I'm going to say this is an invalid argument. That is not logical. It is invalid. Okay, let's try and do one more. There's 2 more. We're probably not going to make the last one. If you drive 50 miles per hour in a school zone, then you get a speeding ticket. Pat received a speeding ticket. Pause. Syllogism or detachment? Looks like detachment. Okay. If P is you drive 50 miles in a school zone, and then Q is you will get a speeding ticket. Pat receives a speeding ticket. Is that P or Q? Q. Can I conclude number 3? Why not, Billy? Good. Good. Q matches Q, and I can't do that, right? There are other reasons you can get a speeding ticket, right? You could just be speeding on the interstate. You could have run a red light. You could have rolled through a stop sign. You could have, I don't know, but
all right, computer, we made it through
another
week.
invalid.
It's Friday afternoon.
If you want a paper copy, hold up your hand.
Lord, I surrender myself to you. Take care of that. Let's pray together in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let's hear you. Amen. Classes have ended. Go in peace. First wave of students.
Everyone have a worksheet that needs one?
All right, we're playing on Monday. We're doing something a little bit new. After our Irish energy moment, the second wave will be instead still fighting Irish freshmen. So let's give it up for them. Fighting freshmen, so
Bye, Sam.
First quarter.
This is White.